The BlackBerry Classic, the old Q20 with that BlackBerry movie hovering around. I wanted to pull one out and take a look at it. I know Mr. Mobile, Michael Fisher, was deciding which one he wanted to take of his old BlackBerries to the premiere, and that got me thinking, well, which one would I have taken if I were going to see the movie? Which device? It would probably be the Classic. I love my Passport. I took my Passport everywhere, but every once in a while, I liked the compact, the kind of old school BlackBerry feel of the Classic that you got. Of course, you got to wear it on that cool little hip holster that also added to the aesthetic. But I liked carrying this around. I like switching between the Passport and this one. Every once in a while, you just wanted that light, compact device that was still solid and got the job done, and that was absolutely my BlackBerry Classic with the buttons. I never liked the Q10. I never really managed to warm to it. For whatever reason, I needed that call button. I needed the stick here, basically the trackpad and the end button to make calls, and I didn't care that it was slightly elongated. I wish it were more the proportions of the BlackBerry Bold, but I got used to this, and I wound up liking this a whole heck of a lot. You know, we've talked these aren't viable. Other people in other countries have been using them. If you still have older networks, 2G, 3G, 4G, if your carriers have not been as aggressive as carriers here in the United States, basically kicking these devices off, then you still have a shot. I remember the last time that we talked about either the Classic or the Passport, I was asking people, if you are in the United States and you do have one of them still running, let me know which carrier that was. Please still do that below in the description. I'll leave a link to our Discord as well. We have a BlackBerry specific room if you want to hang out in there, so I'll leave the link to the Discord. You can come ahead and go ahead and join us. But if you do have experience with these in the United States, a carrier that will still use them, even if it's not for data, even if it's just for SMS and voice, go ahead and tell me which one that is, because I'd be curious to know if one of these could get back on the system. I know they could be used in other countries. I know people have even come up with workarounds, side loads, ways to get apps working on them again, WhatsApp sort of working in other countries, and I know that people have been able to do that, but it's a little tougher, I believe, if you're a BlackBerry fan inside the United States. And that leads us to replacements that other people have moved on to. From what I could gather, most people moved on to a Pixel device, believe it or not, with the Titan security chip that they put in there. That's what people felt best with. I know there's still going to be a portion of people who are always saying, well, it's Android, and Android can only be so secure. And I agree with you. You know, Android can only be as secure as you trust Google with Android. So, but that's the same thing with Apple. That's the same thing with all of them. It's only as much as you're going to trust it. You know, there's very few Linux phones going around, at least ones that you'd want to use. So I understand that there's limitations there in terms of security inherently with Google. I like what some of them have done, and that's why recently, you know, I've been talking about this. I really think that this Think phone is kind of if you're okay, listen, getting rid of the keyboard, I understand it is a big percentage of the BlackBerry experience, but if you're okay with that in 2023, because our options are so limited, it's basically unihertz, an older device, or that's what you got. You know, we'll talk about the Astra devices in a moment, but it's either unihertz you're okay with, or you're getting rid of a keyboard. And there are some people that are not okay with unihertz, or they want to move on to a bigger display device. This Think phone actually gives you a lot, especially of the Passport, a lot of the functionality. You get the nice design, the aramid fiber back feels like the old backs of the BlackBerry devices, not just a glass slab device. So you get the rugged nature of a BlackBerry device. It's a little bit of rough and tumble there, like these devices used to be. You get the outstanding battery life, which is something that I've really kind of hung on to, that you used to get on your Passport and those older BlackBerry devices as well, a multiple day battery. But also you get the security that Motorola has put in there. You get the Think security, you get the granular control of the microphones, the cameras, which you get on Android, but you get to see which apps are using which. And how often and when they actually access certain things and why. And I like that. You can go in to that app and actually limit what apps are using what and revoke permissions if you don't like the way an app or when an app is using a certain microphone or the camera, which I like. So if you're somebody who the BlackBerry thing was about security, was about BBID, was about BlackBerry Protect, the Motorola Think phone may be an option for you. You know, I've had a bunch of people talk about the Astra Communicator and then the F1. The problem with that is the price. You know, I understand it's a niche company and they're going to charge more, But $900 for a Snapdragon 888 and kind of I think it was 6 gigs of RAM, it just seemed off spec wise, and you weren't getting the software updates that you get normally. You were stuck on either Android 10 or 11 or something, whatever it was. It just seemed dated for the price, and plus it's a palm top PC. It's not. It's like your HP 200LX. It's more like that than something like a BlackBerry. So unless the keyboard's on the front, if I got to open it up like a palm top and use it like sit there and type something out, if I can't use the keyboard on the fly, either as a priv type device sliding it open or something like this, the classic with the keyboard takes up the bottom third of the device, I'm not really interested. It's a different class of device to me. It's more like a mini laptop or a palm top than a mobile phone. So that's something that doesn't interest me. But if you do, that's something you could certainly take a look at. The other thing is, I got a bunch of comments in older BlackBerry videos when BlackBerry sold off a number of the older patents again. There was one big sell-off of patents, and then they did it again. And some people were trying to get excited about that and saying, "Whoa, is it possible? Could we get a revitalization of BlackBerry? Will someone else besides Onward Mobility take another stab at it and see if they could get a device out there?" And it's really not the case. It's not something that you should be looking forward to. It's not something that you should be hanging your hat on, because look at the company who buys it. If it's a pre-existing mobile company, like, as much as we had problems with the BlackBerry Key 1 and Key 2, TCL was a legitimate company, mobile company. They developed products and stuff like that. If someone buying the patents from BlackBerry literally is like a holding company, they're doing that for one reason and one reason only. A holding company's not all of a sudden going to engineer a device and hire a bunch of salespeople and hire a bunch of promotional people and software people. They're not going to do that. That doesn't make sense for them. The holding company's objective is basically to buy up those patents and then go after people like Unihertz who are using similar designs and saying, hey, you can't use this, or technologies and things like that they might see in future devices. That's basically why they bought up the rest of the BlackBerry patents, because they think they could go back and sue people. Maybe it's for gestures. Maybe they're going to sue Apple and sue Android for gestures, because gestures were on BBOS long before they were on Apple and Android. So that's their objective. It's unfortunate, but I do think the days of a BlackBerry branded device, or at least the hope of a BlackBerry branded device, getting back to the older quality and giving us that, really are lost. Unless it was somebody, if Unihertz bought up those patents, which they can't do, small company, they wouldn't be able to afford it. But if Unihertz were the ones buying up those patents, then you start getting excited, right? You say, well, some of that BlackBerry technology is coming back. If it were Motorola, which people have said, Motorola should buy some of the BlackBerry patents. If they did it, that's a different story. But if it's just XYZ holding company that's buying up patents, that's not going to be something that's going to result in an end product that we'd actually get to use physically in our hands. So don't get excited about that. But with the BlackBerry movie coming out, I want to go ahead and talk about one of these, which one I would bring. This is the one I would bring. I would bring the classic. It's just cool to talk about these. And let me know below, if you were a hold down, if you were somebody, did you go to a Unihertz device, Titan Pocket, something like that? Did you go to a Pixel device because of the security? Or are you still looking for a replacement? In which case, I think the ThinkPhone might be something you'd want to look at. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.